Yeah, team, welcome to the show today. It is so good to have you here. My name is Bartholomew, but to be a little bit less formal, you can call me Bart. I'm a fitness nerd. I am also a motivational speaker, and I have built this show, Built Resilient, just for you. I'm here to answer the questions that I get after my keynote presentations, questions that a lot of people they think about, but they never ask. And so this show is about airing those questions, all in the name of leveling up your mental, physical and emotional resilience. It's so good to have you here. If you could please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, wherever you're watching this. There's a lot of people that listen to this show, but the followers are well behind that number. So if you could hit that follow button, give us a 5-star rating, particularly if you're on Apple Podcast, and I will be forever, ever grateful, and so will be the algorithm overlords. Now, this episode is a question and answer episode. These are questions written in by people just like you. If you want to contribute, you absolutely can. Just write in at hello@bartwalsh.com.au and we'll get your question either on this show or a solo topic episode that come out every other week.
When I've had a bad night of sleep, I feel completely useless the next day. My productivity crashes, my mood is short, and I end up craving sugar and coffee just to get through. Do you have any practical tips for bouncing back so I can still function instead of just writing off the day?
I think we are finally coming around to realize just how much a bad night's sleep, even one night, can affect us, not just from an energy and a focus point of view, but from an inflammatory point of view, from an overall health point of view. And it just reiterates the theory that us personal trainers and us health experts have been touting for years, that sleep is one of the fundamental levers you can pull to change your entire life. If we look at all the levers we can pull for our health, our exercise, our nutrition, our stress management, and our sleep, if all I do is affect your sleep, it will move the needle the most than if I just focus on exercise or just focus on nutrition. Sleep is fundamental, so fundamental that we need it every single day. And when we don't get it, like this person, we certainly hear about it. So let's look at this question in a bit more detail. Everyone has bad night's sleep. We know this. But if you're having more than 2 bad nights sleep a week, something might need to be addressed in terms of your wake routine or your sleep routine. What happens to your body when you go to sleep and what happens in your life when you wake up. If we can start controlling the bookends of our sleep, we can start affecting our sleep more. And look, I think the silver bullet for me isn't doing all the things, isn't blocking out your blinds, isn't doing meditation before bed. It's not about having magnesium hot chocolate or dimming your lights. You can do that and they will work, but I know not many people are going to do all of these things. I think the silver bullet for your sleep is simply waking up at the same time every day. Because if we do this, it makes going to bed a lot easier. Too much do we focus on going to bed at a certain time, that it makes it so much easier when we focus on waking up at a certain time, because the rhythm will be there. Our body will know when to start producing melatonin. Our body will know when to start feeling sleepy. So firstly, let's address that. If you want better sleep, my go-to is always start with how you wake up and waking up at the same time every day. Before I go into ways on how to mitigate the effects of a bad sleep, I want to talk about creatine, which is a bit weird, I know. And some of you may or may not know what creatine is. Some of you may think creatine is just for people with big muscles, but trust me, it's not, and the research is backing this up. Creatine is magic. It's magic because of the way that it affects every cell in your body, not just your muscles, and this includes cells within your brain. There was a recent study that I haven't looked at too deeply yet, but I want to read it to you because the findings are quite interesting in regards to creatine and sleep. Researchers conducted a double-blind crossover trial with 15 young adults aged between 20 and 28. Participants stayed awake for 21 hours and then either received a high dose of creatine, which ended up being about 20 grams, which is quite high, or a placebo. Brain imaging scans then tracked metabolic shifts, while cognitive tests measured performance over time. And here are the interesting results. There were metabolic improvements. So keep in mind, this is after a very poor night's sleep or staying up for 21 hours, only 3 hours sleep. Metabolic improvements. Creatine helped preserve brain energy markers and prevented the usual drop in pH seen during sleep deprivation. Now, this is really interesting because creatine What it does is help replenish that initial source of energy. You might think back to year 7 or 8 biology here. We talk about the Krebs cycle, ATP production. Creatine just helps boost that process to replenish those energy stores faster. And when you're sleep deprived, that process might not be kicking in as fast as you want. But if you have a high dose of creatine, all of a sudden it boosts that system and you can think clearer and you can feel better. There were also cognitive benefits. Volunteers showed better processing speed, memory retention, and overall mental performance compared to the placebo. The peak effect was found about 4 hours post a dose of creatine and lasted for 4 hours. So what this is telling me is that creatine can mitigate a lot of the mental and cognitive effects from a poor night's sleep. And this could be a really big hack for you. If you've had a poor night's sleep and you've got a presentation at work that you need to do, or you don't want to write your day off like this person that's writing in, it can be a really simple hack if you can tolerate 20 grams of creatine, which might be a bit hard on your stomach for some people. So I want to put that out there. I don't normally give supplemental advice. I like to give behavioral advice. But the stuff around creatine that's coming out is crazy. It would be a shame not to mention it. So there's a little hack for you that you may or may not use. But I want to talk about the behaviors you can also do to mitigate a poor night's sleep. And the first is movement. Surprise, surprise. Light exercise, nothing too stressful. So keep in mind, a poor night's sleep, your body isn't recovered, your body isn't primed to hit a 1 RM, isn't primed to stretch itself out to the max. But light movement can all of a sudden push the blood around your body, make you feel a bit more awake. It also pushes blood to your brain, which will make you feel a little bit better. So if you had a poor night's sleep, the best thing you can do, I think, is get out in the sun, go for a light jog, a light walk if you need to, get a bit of vitamin D from the sun, and move your body just to start your day and send a signal to your body at the start of your day to keep that energy rolling. And then if you've got something important to do that day after a poor night's sleep, do it in the morning. Don't wait for it in the afternoon. In the afternoon, you are going to be shattered. And then a couple of other really simple things. Stay hydrated. A poor night's sleep won't necessarily make you more dehydrated, but might make you forget to drink water. And a hydrated body plus light movement, that pushes the blood around just that little bit more better, including blood to your brain. And then the final thing is give yourself grace. Give yourself a moment in your day where you can relax. If it's 5 minutes sitting down or 10 minutes in an office like I do sometimes, booking out a meeting room and sitting in there for 15 minutes just in silence, that's going to help too. Don't think you have to go balls to the wall, pedal to the metal and demolish the day. Just go easy and achieve something. Think about the 1% better rule. We know that we don't want to write off the day, that's for sure, but I know that you can still take 1 step forward even though you're used to taking 20 steps forward. So I hope that answers your question just a little bit. And I think I want to reiterate, if you are having multiple poor nights sleep and you don't have kids or there's nothing serious going on, it's probably a good thing to address how you're going to bed and how you're waking up. All right, let's move on to question number 2.
I've hit my 30s, and I still don't feel like I've figured out my path. I've worked different jobs, tried different things, but nothing feels like a calling. How do you deal with the pressure of not knowing what you want to do, especially when it feels like everyone else already has the answer?
In an odd way, I can relate to this question. Through my life, I've always had the motto of I want to be the jack of all trades but a master of none. I want to be okay at a whole heap of different things, but to the detriment of me being absolutely incredible at one thing. And in a way, I think that's worked in my favor. And I'm going to encourage this person writing in to have a similar mindset, because the fact that you're trying different things in your life, different jobs, different experiences, that doesn't mean you're failing. It just means that you're finding the right thing for you, and you will never know unless you try. So you trying these different avenues is just another stepping stone in your journey. And, you may or may not find that thing, your purpose, in the next year, in the next 2 years, in the next 3 years, but you will not find it if you didn't have those experiences in the past. So I know you're feeling frustrated, but do not feel like a failure. And I understand the older that we get, there's a societal pressure to have a family. There's a societal pressure to buy a house, to find your passion, find your purpose in this life. But we need to understand all our journeys are so completely and utterly individual, particularly in a modern world where we have so many opportunities to explore different paths. So try to avoid the comparison culture that we've all sort of just fallen into. My journey is different from anyone else's, and so is yours. So I want you to firstly understand this. The people that you may be comparing yourself to, all you're seeing is their highlight reel. We know this. Social media isn't real. It's not reality. We're just seeing the top parts. Understand that every single person also experiences pain, also experiences frustration, and also experiences the weight of comparison of what you're feeling right now. And to simplify things for you, I don't want you to chase a job title, and I don't want you to chase, to be honest, I don't want you to chase a location or a destination someone else has gone to. I want you to create your own. And the way we can do that in the simplest form is to ask yourself, what's the next right decision? What's the next right step? Because if you just focus on the next right decision, all of a sudden that will lead to another right decision and another. If we keep trying to jump 50 decisions ahead, we're not going to get to where we want to go, and we don't even know what that decision is going to be. So I want you to bring your attention back to right now. What's the next right choice? So let me summarize all of this waffle here for you. You jumping from job to job or experience to experience is not failure. It is frustrating, absolutely, but it is in no way failure. This is your path. This is your journey, and I need you to commit to it and stay with it. Do not give up. And if you're really committed to finding the thing that lights you up, that gives you purpose, that you know is the thing you are put on this world to do, then we need to broaden our horizon and figure out what that feeling, what that experience is. And then once we've identified it, then we need to hang around in that world, reach out to people, do work experience, volunteer to understand how that world works and how you may fit into it. You are not lost. You're just on a path that you haven't paved just yet. So hang in there. Okay, question number 3.
After a stressful day at work, I often walk through the door and immediately feel on edge. The smallest things my kids do can make me snap, even though I don't want to. How do I stop carrying the weight of my day into those precious hours I have with my children at night?
This is an awesome question because I know there's going to be thousands of people listening and watching to this that can absolutely and utterly relate. And this is why, deep down, it's really important for me to separate work and home. I really struggle working from home. If I have a working from home day, I'll either go to a cafe or somewhere different because home to me is sacred. Home is a sacred place. In acting school, we even compartmentalized it even more. And we looked at rooms of the house. In the living room is where we live. In the bedroom is where we sleep. In the bathroom is where we bathe. And if we start blurring the lines of putting a TV in the bedroom or putting a couch in the bedroom or putting a bed in the lounge room, all of a sudden we're blurring the lines of these boundaries. And it's the same with work and home. Home for me is sacred. Home for me is love, is family, is fun. And it's not full of stress, which I might get from work. And so I want you to have the same compartmentalization when you're coming home from work. And so the best thing I've found is once you pull into your driveway, take 5 minutes or 10 or 15 if you need it, and breathe and process what's been happening at work. Write it down if you need to. Complete a final task so you don't have to do it over dinner on your phone. And then leave work in the car or leave work at work. When you get home, it is sacred. You put that new hat on, you put that dad hat on, and it does not come off. But do not get me wrong, this is easier said than done. And there are going to be times where you snap at your kids or your wife and you know it's not their fault, it's something that happened in your day. So the first thing I want you to do is create that buffer zone. Give yourself 5 minutes in the car or 5 minutes outside just to let work wash off you. And then, hey, if you get in there and you do snap at your kids for whatever reason, I want you to make sure you address it. I want you to make sure you circle back and explain to your kid why you did that. Because to the kid's point of view, he or she just thinks she's done something wrong. When really it wasn't about them, it was about what's happened in your day. So make sure you do circle back to your child or your wife and say, hey, I've had a stressful day. I yelled at you before. It's not your fault. It's mine. And really make that a full circle learning experience. And then I want you to swap reaction for curiosity. When you feel that snapping coming, when you feel that feeling, I want you to stop and try and think about why. And stopping is the hardest part, I know. Stopping that moment in any situation is really hard to do, but once you practice at it, you get better at it. Once you feel it coming, you can just pause and think and breathe. And I can guarantee you your behavior is going to be different because of that air, because of that beat you're giving before that snap. And the one last final tip I will give is naming it out loud. And boys, this is one of the hardest things for us to do, communicate. And the last tip I'll give you is to say it out loud. And boys, this is one of the hardest things for us to do, it's to communicate. So as soon as you get home, you tell your wife and kids, hey, I've had a stressful day at work, and if I seem a little bit cranky, just understand it's not about you. And then once it's sort of out there, I think the likelihood of you snapping or your mood being low is a lot less. But look, it's a tough situation, and there's a lot of parents in this world that are often stuck in this cycle. And if you are stuck in this cycle, you know, you're snapping at your kids, you're yelling at your kids, understand that no kid should be yelled at, and they don't learn through yelling. Kids yell to other kids, adults teach. And the way we can do that is to simply look in the mirror at our own behaviours and perhaps think about that moment before you snap and take a breath. Look, this is a very ubiquitous happening in a lot of households around Australia and around the world. And if you do find yourself in a cycle of getting home, feeling depressed and taking it out on your wife and your kids or your husband and your kids, understand the only way that's going to change is if we reflect on our own behaviour. And if you're listening to this show, you're one step ahead of the curve already. Let's move on to the next question.
I feel like I put on a bit of a mask around my kids and partner. I don't always show them the real me. How do I actually be more authentic with my family?
This is a question that was actually asked to me after a recent presentation. How can I be more authentic with my kids and with my family? And the more I think about this concept of wearing masks, the more I realize we all wear masks in different points in our day, depending on who we're communicating to and depending on who we're in front of. Some of us have a mask we wear to work, where our employer or our colleagues will probably never understand the real us. Some of us, unfortunately, have a mask at home with our partner, which I think is one of the places where we shouldn't have a mask and we should just be who we are. And the unfortunate thing is some of us wear these masks for so long that we become them, that we turn into the thing that we think we should be, and then we forget about who we are. It's happened to a number of friends of mine. They've got a role in a job, or they got married, or they're hanging out with a new friend group, and you can tell they're putting on a show, they're putting on an act for the people around them, and you know that's not who you are. And it's a frustrating situation to be in. And so when it comes to our family, this is the one time where we shouldn't wear a mask, where we should learn to let that mask drop and be as authentic as we can, particularly for our children. Because if we teach our children to be a different person in front of different people, they too are going to struggle to understand who they are and then be authentic to their kids and their people in their environment. So my first tip is this. I want you to start small, and I want you to share something real about your day instead of just saying, hey, I'm good. Hey, I'm fine. Like anything in self-development and physical development, going from 0 to 100 like that does not work. If you go to your kid and just open up your entire life of pain and be as vulnerable as possible, that's going to scare the crap out of them. But the first thing you can do is start small and just answer a question such as, are you okay? Funnily enough, answer it honestly and start an honest conversation rather than just a surface level small talk with them. And then I want you to model vulnerability. Remember that your behavior is a language too, and your behavior, your kids can interpret before they interpret your words. And so this could be as simple as admitting when you know you don't know something. I don't know the answer to that. Or being vulnerable with actually how you feel about a situation. And I know this might be hard for a lot of you to do, but it requires practice. Absolutely. Remember, vulnerability precedes resilience. The only way we're going to get stronger is if we commit to being vulnerable and honest with who we are, particularly in front of the people that we love. And then I want you to spend time being present without distraction with your family. Authenticity isn't always about words, it's about attention. And this just simply means being with them. It means being in the same room, but not on separate screens. Not living separate lives, sitting on the couch next to each other. It means playing games. It means having honest conversations without distraction. Time and just being present, looking at them in the eyes, can be the thing that turns a kid's life around. But it's something that we don't do because we're always so distracted. And then I want you to simply ask questions, which will invoke replies to your kids or to your family. When you invite your family's real selves into the conversation, they show up. And all of a sudden, it's a two-way street. You model vulnerability by starting small, answering things honestly, and then you invite your kids or your family to be vulnerable too. And that's where these beautiful connections can start to build. But do not think this is going to change overnight. This is something that will take quite a time to flip. But trust me, you commit to it, and your relationship with your children will change wholesale just because you chose to be vulnerable. Oh, team, end of another episode. Love that feeling, and if you've made it this far, thank you so much. I have a wonderful feeling with what we're building here at Built Resilient, and it's all because of you. So thank you for listening, thank you for subscribing, thank you for liking the stuff I put out on Instagram at walsh.fit. If you do want to contribute, I'm always here. hello@bartwalsh.com.au. Write me your questions, even if it's not a question, you want to reach out about speaking, or you simply want to have a little bit of a chat. I'm your guy. Let me know. Team, thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Remember to choose resilience.